Yeah, I was always going to McDonald's and getting like Big Macs and that. And then I found out for real that the Whopper was flame broiled, man, and that was good as hell. So I never went to Burger King because of. How you doing?
Fine, how you guys doing?
Okay, very good, sir. Then, because Burger King used to sell Pepsi, man. Fuck that. But,
Here's your change.
okay, very cool. And put that right there. And
Large call.
okay. Oh, that's cool. And anyway, so man, when I tasted that Whopper and it was charbroiled, it was good as hell. And then coincidentally, Burger King started selling Coke, so the whole thing got wrapped up. Now you can go to Burger King, get a Whopper, and get the goddamn Coke, and you're set. But that whole Pepsi thing just turned me off from Burger King. And so, I mean, it's great that things work out sometimes like that.
Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to another video. There's another paid request, this time from Guillermo. Very nice guy, very generous guy. Thank you for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, reviews, commentaries, rankings, lists, or whatever in between, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, Guillermo wanted me to rank the requests he sent out for the past year or two. Now, he's been very generous, so I wrote down as many as I could remember, so if I miss any, I do apologize for that. But of the movies he requested, some of my favorites would be American Movie. Love American Movie. That's definitely at the top because that is a documentary I've seen before, but it was nice to rewatch again. Mark Borchardt and his buddy, while they're trying to make Coven, the argument. It's pronounced Coven, no, it's pronounced Coven. It really showcased the spirit of independent filmmaking. And a guy that, I mean, in a way, Sally, he never made it. Because Mark Borchardt, when this came out, yeah, he got some appearances, and I think him and his buddy appeared on Family Guy, and some other, David Letterman. But he didn't really get to make too many films. He didn't really get to make too many movies. The one movie he was talking about during that, not Coven, but the other movie, that never came to be. And for some reason, that failure made it more relatable, in a weird way endearing, sad, but at the same time more, in a weird way, realistic. That was just a very fun. I don't think that ever got a Blu-ray. There should have been like a special, like a. The DVD I remember having features, but there should be like a special edition Blu-ray of that, and then look back at them now compared to back then. I'm surprised there hasn't been that type of thing done. This is definitely a cult movie, American Movie. And his grandpa tried to get him to say lines. There's something to live for. Hey, it's alright, it's okay. I'm not going to spoil too much. If you haven't seen American Movie, if you at all like anything about independent movies, making movies, the American dream of making movies, and the hardships that go into it, but also a great sense of humor, I highly recommend American Movie for anyone who's seen it. That's definitely up there. Ed Wood, Tim Burton, that was a request. That's a great movie. One of my favorite Tim Burton films. One of my favorite Johnny Depp films. Love Ed Wood. Let's see, other ones up there. Butterfly Kisses, which, thanks to you, Guillermo, if you're watching, you got me to find out about that, and I loved it. Butterfly Kisses. That was a really cool flick. Does he request a lot of like these either found footage or fake documentary movies, which is always interesting because either they're really bad or they're gems. And if they're really bad, at least there's something to talk about, rant on, and if they're very good, they become like, wow, I have the Blu-ray over there. Butterfly Kisses. That was very interesting because it was a group of people. It was a cool story. It was a nice way of doing meta on found footage horror, where this guy who used to do wedding videos, he's with his wife. They found some stuff, and he's putting it together. And then he has a documentary following him as he's putting this footage together. And then this nice background of, well, wait a minute, you want to be a filmmaker, but yet you're putting someone else's footage together. Is that really you being a filmmaker? And, you know, people say, oh, the found footage thing is old. You even have, like, Eduardo Sanchez, one of the guys who did Blair Witch Project, going, listen, dude, we've done this, you know. No, but this is actually real. And the legend within the footage this guy's looking at is very interesting. It's like a nice version of it's like a good version of a Slender Man movie, in a way, where these people put in this footage, and as I'm watching this, I'm noticing like little things in the background. What's that image? Maybe I'm just seeing things. Oh no, I wasn't seeing things. It's this like little figure that popped in the corner of my eye, and like, wow, that was creepy, and it was well acted, and I just pretty much all these reviews I have on the channel. If I try to go in depth, this will be like a 3-hour video, so, or at least a 1-hour video. So, but yeah, Butterfly Kisses. If you have like fake documentary, found footage type of films, are different and interesting, and I thought it was a good story. I thought it was a story well told. Savage Land, I got that on DVD. Did not know that until Guillermo requested it. That's another interesting fake documentary. Sorry about that. Where a guy who, it's a town that's near the border of Mexico, and you know, there's a backdrop of this town got massacred, and one guy was picked up, and they think he did it. And this whole, oh, it's Mexicans, the border. But I thought it was handled a lot better here than like in Machete. But what was more interesting was the horror aspect that was told via pictures. Because while this whole thing happened, the guy kept taking pictures. And you get these interviews like, why would he do that? And they try to make sense of it. And, well, wait a minute, there's no way this guy could kill a whole town. This is what he would have had to do. And what about this? What about this? What about this? And you get like these really creepy photographs that help tell the story, especially of the event that happened. I thought, man, that's a really interesting way of telling a story, is via these still pictures. Again, I thought, yeah, obviously it's fake, because most of these are fake. But I thought with the way the actors portrayed it and the way it was made, I thought they really sold that authenticity fairly well. So Savage Land is a really good one in that fake documentary genre. But let's see, One Cut of the Dead. I was pleasantly surprised by that, because I don't know if I want to spoil it. A good chunk of the first half is all done seemingly all in one cut, and you think you know what's going on, and then you find out what the deal is, and that made it a bit more heartwarming than I thought it would be. I'll put it that way. Like One Cut of the Dead, you think it's this one-track shot of a group of people going to this building, and they're going to film something, and a zombie epidemic happens, and people get killed. It's all in one take. But then you find out more. Okay. When I put this down, I'll stop the spoilers. I'll start the spoilers on What Cut of the Dead. The spoiler is, you find out that it is a movie being made. And after, like, I don't know, 40 minutes, it cuts. And then we go back, and it's a backstory of how they made this film. and it becomes like a sort of a love story on filmmaking. And these guys aren't crazed and zombies. They're just making this film and how they set up the idea, and then you revisit that one shot and you see how the hell they made it. You did some nice humor. Okay, you go that way, no, and the guy's fumbling, trying to not break the one take. It could be it's a heartwarming detail on filmmaking. One Cut of the Dead. So that's up there. Horror in the High Desert, that's another fake documentary I enjoyed. I thought that the way it's very good looking cinematography wise for such a tiny independent film. And it's people were interviewed about this guy who did vlogs, and he went out and then he disappeared, and what happened, and was it a murder, was it this that happened. Again, the fake documentaries like that, I think ever since I saw The Tunnel, I've got more intrigued by that stuff, where yes, we know it's fake, but at the same time to try to appear to be real, but at the same time have these interviews where people discuss and try to contemplate or commentate on why this happened, why that happened, discuss. Again, The Tunnel is my favorite of that type of stuff, but movies like Savage Land and even Butterfly Kisses to an extent, Horror in the High Desert, they're interesting to watch on that front. Fake Blood, that's another one where it's about these two guys who are horror film directors, and they did a tape in the mail that someone says, oh, well, not a tape in the mail, but they did a message that, oh, we're going to do this, and look what we did, and we were inspired by one of your films, and like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And they start this investigation, and that's another one that I liked the two leads. I like the take on horror films and what does it do or not do to people, and try and do a bit of a commentary over it. There's no out of the blue downbeat, everyone dies ending, like same with even Savage Land, some of these other movies. Like I said, I reviewed all these films. They're on the channel. It's hard to get in deep into it. It's hard to remember all these films. It's my memory going. But Fake Blood I enjoyed. They're Watching. I thought that was kind of a humorous found footage film where the ending goes a bit buck wild in a fun way. And it does have a nice sense of humor to it. Like I said, it does have a buck wild ending. I guess sort of the last person standing. I liked that person. And again, some of these I don't know how much I want to spoil for those who haven't seen it. Again, if you want to know more of my thought process, check out the reviews. The Take of Deborah Logan. We have this woman who's being... It's like a fake documentary / found footage where they're looking at this woman who's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but then you realize, maybe is it Alzheimer's or is this something else? And I thought the acting, especially by the woman playing Deborah Logan and then her daughter, who's just all this stress, having to take care of her mom, just a one thing, and then find out maybe this other. I thought it was well written for the type of movie it is. It kept me intrigued to see what would happen next. The acting was pretty good, especially by some of the leads. Let's see, Operation Avalanche. That was interesting because they made a film where, the conspiracy that we never landed on the moon and the moon was filmed. Well, this is a documentary found footage of people talking back in the day. Hey, let's go film. You have a problem? We know how to film it. Let us do it. And the way they make it look like back in the day in the 60s and the film quality and trying to make that as similar to the time period as possible with the old film. And it's not really a horror film, it's more of a little bit of humor, conspiracy, then becomes a little bit of a thriller. And there's like a bit where the character sneaked onto like 2001: A Space Odyssey to look at the techniques in order to use for their film. I mean, there was an interesting take on, like, if you don't want to do this type of fake documentary stuff, that's an interesting angle to utilize. I thought that was rather pretty cool, and yeah, something I'd never really had heard of before until Guillermo let me know on it. So Operation Avalanche was interesting. Altered, that's a film I had seen before, but it had been a while. That's from one of the directors of the Blair Witch Project. That was people who were abducted by aliens long ago, but then they get revenge and they abduct one of the aliens themselves, and they've got it tied up in the cell, and they want to try to take revenge, and then they realize that's not really... They come to find out that's not the best of plans. But I thought the actors did their jobs well. Yeah, actually, one of the actors is Michael Williams, Mike from the Blair Witch Project. He's not the lead, but he's one of the supporting characters. And you know, Alter was a different take on an alien type of movie, which I appreciated. The Possession of Michael Keane. Yes, my friend Mike, the choice voice, Michael Keane, he got possessed, and I filmed it. And we didn't tell anyone about it. But yeah, he got possessed, and he said a bunch of fucking shit. Shit, fun, fucking shit. And he forgot he was possessed. Yeah, but that one I actually didn't mind. In seriousness, for a type of possession, I thought the lead guy did a pretty good acting job. It was interesting to have a guy film himself going through all the trials and tribulations of being possessed, and that slow ongoing matter. The fact he's filming it himself, at least it was a little bit of a different take, and he's having to deal with it by himself and doesn't know who to turn to. And even the ending, there's a moment where his heart overcomes, I guess, like the Exorcist, he has to make a sacrifice, self-sacrifice sort of angle. Oh, concerning all the other possession type movies, I've seen a lot worse. I just remember not minding it. The Dirties, thought that was interesting. That's the same people that made Operation Avalanche. I liked that one because it was a different take on, you get in the mind of someone that might go into a school shooting, but the way it's handled with the actors and how one person's finding out that their buddy is not quite there, and this person's wanted to take it out on bullies that were picking on him, and the others kind of... I just thought the way the actors performed it and the way the story was told, even like the end credits, I know that's a weird thing to say, but the end credits, they are inspired by other movies with each credit. I don't know how else to put it, but like I said, The Dirties was another one that had an interesting story. See, then Splinter. I put Splinter in there because it's not about Master Splinter, but it's a decent creature feature film that takes place in a gas station. That's a little bit of maybe John Carpenter thing, like that type of body horror type of stuff, which was cool to see. Some decent practical effects, nice usage of a limited environment. Like Splinter, it was a decent independent creature feature film that no one talks about. Evidence was interesting because it seemed like your typical shitty found footage, and then By the third act, they just said fuck it and put everything in the kitchen sink. Here's an underground facility, and here's like zombies, and here's like other shit, and then there's other shit, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then there's helicopters and animals. I'm like, what the fuck? If an alien pops out, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe there were some. Evidence is one of those things, again, it lulls you in a sense of false security of it just being a lame. And I'm like, man, at least, most movies, it just, of that type, found footage, they just get cheap or boring in the third act. Well, not all of them, some of the ones I actually like to, but it's like, nah, shh. By the way, look at all these crazy shit. I'm like, okay. Well, maybe it's not as crazy as I make it out to be, but for a movie with evidence, like a kind of a meh title, again, it has a lot of issues. It does. But the third act, Insanity, kind of made me smile. The other films, Isolation, I put on there, I liked. That's kind of takes place on a farm with these cattle having been injected with some type of specific thing, and now they're changing. It kind of felt like an episode of the X-Files. Yeah, a little bit of this creature feature body horror in terms of some of these cows and giving birth to altered not quite cow, not quite genetic modification, genetic mutation. And it felt like if you had Mulder and Scully, it'd be like a pretty decent episode of the X-Files. That's what I liked about Isolation. It was decently filmed too, had some nice lighting, atmosphere. Living in Oblivion, that was an interesting one. I would put that. That stars Steve Buscemi as a director trying to make this film, and it's funny because the ending of that film where a little person gets mad about why is that you want to film something about a dream, about a nightmare, yeah, put a little person in. I'm like, is that Peter Dinklage? With his bitching about Snow White shit nowadays. But yeah, Steve Buscemi playing this director trying to get this film made. There's a couple chuckles I got out of that movie. Steer Package, that was an anthology horror that I got some fun. That's one I would not mind even another look. Because a lot of these I watched so many films, a lot of them I forget, to be honest. Like a lot of those anthology films, Holiday, Steer Package, I've forgotten a lot about them, honestly. But I do remember there's some pretty good gore. There's a couple decent stories. Entertainment Valley and Steer Package. John Doe Vigilante, that's what I remember the lead actor being pretty decent at it, at his job. Filmmaker wasn't, 100% best. You could tell it's low budget, but yeah, I remember the lead actor selling that film fairly well. Meander, that's a film I watched recently for the first time. It was like a decent version of Cube, kind of a spiritual sequel to Cube. Very simple story, but I like the sci-fi aspect of a woman stuck in these very thin tunnels going through these different traps and finding out a bit more about what's going on. I thought it took a simplistic angle and made an interesting take on it, using the bare essentials to its, with a bit of ambition involved. Meander. This film is not yet rated. This is a film I remember watching thanks to that request again, because I had seen it before and I liked it less than I did back in the day, because I thought the filmmakers at times seemed a bit prickish themselves. But the concept, it is an interesting conversation to start. I just think some of the stuff the filmmakers did seemed a bit shadier than what the MPA were doing. The Conspiracy, that was another fake found footage documentary. What was interesting is just hearing all the different types of conspiracies that people had and different points of view. I thought the third act kind of lost itself in kind of like typical found footage status. That's what happens with some of these other films, like Mortal Remains. That was where it was interesting that actually that's a film similar to that I think. So I'm trying to remember what the name of the movie is. Because that was the one that he requested as well. Sorry, I'm trying to remember what the hell it was. See if I wrote it down. I'm trying to remember. Because that was like, that's right, that's what I forgot. Yeah, fuck. Well, Mortal Remains is about people look into this film that supposedly is a film that's cursed, and so his filmmakers trying to find this film, and like that was the interesting part of it, is finding out a bit of research, documentation of the in and outs of filmmaking, and if this film was cursed, what could it have done and not done, and the mystery was intriguing. But by the third act, it's like they're in a cemetery and there's people chasing them and the camera's bouncing up, and it just becomes a typical found footage. Everyone dies. And there's another film about like trying to be a very dry, straightforward tale on, oh yeah, this movie, it cursed people, and when people saw it back in the day, they were horrified. And that one really did try to be like a fake documentary, pretend to be real. I forgot what the fuck the movie was called, though. Actually, I got a computer here. I'll look it up real quick. People are like, what the hell are all these movies? Well, yeah, this is for Guillermo. I mean, he sent in a paid request for this. I think that's the least I could do, is try to be as thorough as I can. Fake documentary cursed film. No, I'm not talking about the John Carpenter cigarette burns. No, that's... which I thought was there. I love John Carpenter, but that's not one of my favorite things of his. Antrim? No, that's not it. That wasn't Antrim. What the fuck was it? Sorry, I'm... Fuck. God damn it. Yeah, I apologize. God, there was a... I mean... It was a foreign film, too. That's the thing. Was it a French? It was a foreign film. Fury of the Demon. There you go. Sorry, it took me a bit. That was what? Fury of the Demon. Fury of the Demon was kind of the same vein as Mortal Remains, but Fury of the Demon, I'd probably say... like, Mortal Remains, I liked the first 2/3 of it more than Fury of the Demon, because the mystery and the acting, and it was less dry, and it was like a bit more humanity, a bit more fun. But then it kind of shit the bed and going just typical found footage territory in the third act, while Fear of the Demon kept with its documentary, legitimate style, interviewing people, and I thought ended on a nice note. Well, no, I mean, I won't say nice, but it ended on a note that was acceptable. I thought Fury of the Demon, the ending to it is what I wish was more of Mortal Remains ending. So I probably prefer Fury of the Demon above it, though, because at the end, I wasn't as mad about it compared to Mortal Remains. I really liked the first 2/3 of the ending. Like, fuck. So Mortal Remains actually might go down a bit more down the list on that. Phoenix Forgotten, that was a found footage that I actually liked a bit more than I thought it would, because it's about an alien abduction story, but the way it's like, it's kind of two movies put into one, because you have like the sister story and then you have her brother's story. The brother's story ends on typical, but then it goes to the sister story where it's her get a bit of closure about what happened to her brother, and I don't like that. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Like I said, I'm sorry I'm being vague, but it's hard to remember so many movies to try to put into order. The lost footage of Leah Sullivan was okay in acting wise, but in the ending kind of was meh. Monster Man had a couple decent parts, some off the cuff humor, but sometimes some of the character decisions made you go, "What, really?" But it was kind of, on the flip side, it's kind of cool that the killer monster drove a monster truck. So that gets a couple points for that. The villainous, some Hong Kong type of action, which was decent, but if I've tried to remember more about it, it's hard for me to do so, so maybe that tells a few things. The Atticus Institute, I like the concept, I like the idea, but the ending was very weak sauce, weak ass. RTO 281, interesting to hear a bit of the making of Citizen Kane and the backstory on Orson Welles, but at the same time, I felt there was a few things missing about it. I couldn't put my finger on it. Let's see. Probably some film like Ferocious Planet. For that type of sci-fi channel flick, I thought it was at least a time waster, which was more surprising, because I thought it'd be much more of a rant, but it wasn't. Blackwater was a decent killer crocodile movie where people on a trip and their boats get fucked up and they're kind of just slowly trying to get through the waters and trees, and did a decent enough job setting up some suspense. I'm Not a Serial Killer. This is about a kid looked into this guy played by Christopher Lloyd, and you find out there's a little bit more to this guy than you think it is. Christopher Lloyd, it was interesting to see him play a different type of role. And then the lead kid, the idea that he could very close be a serial killer, he has those tendencies, but he just slightly gets into the good side of things, but he has that kind of, what was the word I'm thinking of, that sociopathic psyche that could make him easily turn into that. So it might not be the most likable person as a lead, but it makes things a little bit different. Alien Outpost, kind of a war movie, kind of fake documentary at times. Yeah, mixed in with Alien movie. Granted, primarily I'd rather just go watch Battle of Los Angeles, but Alien Outpost, for a direct-to-video film, it was an okay time waster. There were a couple movies like 68 Kill, which I remember being okay. Time Crimes was ambitious, although a bit confusing. You Might Be the Killer had a couple fun moments, but I remember there's some things that just bothered me. But yeah, I can't remember them in detail. Badass. It was kind of interesting to see Melvin Van Peebles, but at the same time, the way you look at the actual film and how he treated, Marvin Van Peebles, it just seemed a bit suspect. But it's the making of, when movies are about the making of films, that intrigues me a bit to see the behind the scenes of filmmaking. That's what's been cool about Guillermo's your requests, is that it's a lot of either behind the scenes of filmmaking or found footage fake documentary, and it makes it just more unique in a variety. And yeah, I'm a sucker for even a fake way of learning about making movies. And like Side by Side, that was an interesting one where Keanu Reeves is interviewing people, digital versus film. So that one I put probably a bit above. Side by Side probably put above. Probably above This Film Is Not Yet Rated, because again, This Film Not Yet Rated, I like the idea. There's parts of that really intrigued me about learning about what the MPA does, but then the whole trying to search out the MPA where they live, and I'm like, that's stalker shit. It just is. It's fucking creepy shit. Found Footage 3D, that's a movie where it's kind of in the middle. I like the first half of the film, but then the fact just devolves into typical found. I'm like, you got a cool meta idea to really turn the whole found footage on its head. Here's some likable people, make it so that they live, and they're too smart, and they overcome the pitfalls of stereotypical found footage. But no, we don't do that. And that's what I did. You didn't kind of, the ones like The Horseman, Rated X with Emilio Estevez, Series 7, which were The Domestics, The Wrong House. I remember not my. The interesting part of that was seeing Mark Sainer from Watchers 2. To see him in the movie again. It was cool to see Mark Sainer, although again, like, these are movies I would never see again. Cold Ground, found footage that I like the aesthetic, because it's supposed to take place, was like the 70s or something. So again, the way they try to do the old school found footage filmmaking, interesting, and looks like there could be some neat creatures, but again, they try to do that again, typical found footage angle. Monsters of Man was too long. That's a movie that needs some better pacing. Had a couple decent, the robot's sent in to do this mission to hunt people down. It could have been like a fun Predator type of movie, but it just poorly paced. It cuts away from the meat of the matter to characters we don't need. And that's where you get the films like Come Back to Me, Low Life, Southbound. They're not really films I ranted on, but like, And then you get into like The Gracefield Incident, Open Water 3, Hollywood North, Black Mountain Side, I didn't care for. Fear Project, the fact that got 3 fucking films, I'm like, why does this Fear Project has 3 fucking films? Of all the films that get a fucking trilogy, the Fear Project does. Whether the 3 a.m. one, or just like, what is this shit? Lousy ass fucking found footage anthology shit. Farmhouse, which had a predictable fucking ending, I saw it coming, and cheap effects. Alexandra's Project was annoying with like what you find out what the project's all about, And again, these reviews are on the channel. I went, what? That's what the project was about? That's fucking stupid. Less than a half. Host, which I thought was an overrated Zoom, the horror movie. Horror movie on Zoom. Yeah. Unfriended beat you to it. Sorry, movie. When that came out, there's like a bit of buzz. Oh, wow, Host is really cool. I mean, why? You've seen this before. I've seen this before. Multiple times. There's nothing to it. Other than, thankfully, it's short. Amber Alert. If you want to see some dumb motherfuckers argue back and forth. Yelling and screaming and screeching. Could be cool of an idea. They're filming. They're out on a little trip. They go by a sign, the Amber Alert that someone's been kidnapped. And then, wow, that looks like the description of the car. And, could that be? I don't know. Oh, wait, there's someone in there. But just the way they wrote the characters, just to be so screeching and annoying and irritating and dumb, ruined the potential of that. Amber Alert. That's a film that could use a remake. People, what's a film you could remake? Amber Alert. There you go. Amber Alert. Have it be like two buddies who are talking about movies and sports and anything in between, hanging out. Maybe they're doing something for YouTube or whatever the fuck, Twitch, YouTube, probably YouTube, whatever. Making video, whatever. They're talking, then try to use a bit of common sense and try to have your script tight. If you see holes in it, plug them in and rework it. The Monster Project, a waste of some... Thanks, computer. Let me know if something I edited is done. But it's just a waste of fucking... You have these really neat monster effects and they're wasted. They're wasted on unlikable characters, and most of all, again, an ending that was just stupid. This is what's really going on, and this is why it's happening. Okay. And that's where you get into the even lesser movies. Radar, Guy Watching a Girl Sleep, the movie. Deep Dark, there's a mouth in the wall of a glory hole, the horror flick. A guy moves into somewhere, there's a hole in the wall, and the hole in the wall starts talking to him. It's not even really a horror film. It makes it seem like a horror film, it's not. It's not even glory hole, the horror flick. It's just, she helps him become a better artist, and the guy bitches and moans. Boring as hell. Before I Wake, such a waste of talent. Like, Thomas Jane is in the film, he's fucking wasted. And literally gets wasted. He gets killed off, and it just... That's a waste of a potentially interesting premise. A kid that his dreams... His, how do I put it? Kind of a take on that Twilight Zone. Remember Twilight Zone, the movie? They had that segment where the boy could do whatever, and then that was based on the episode of Twilight Zone. Take that, but you change a little bit of stuff here and there. It could be potentially interesting for a horror film, but just wasted, man. Hellmouth. Waste of Stephen McHattie, who's a good actor. If you want to see Stephen McHattie in an interesting film, check out Pontypool. Hellmouth is like a waste of Stephen McHattie's talent. Confessions of a Time Traveler, which had a couple people get mad at me. Not because they liked the film, they just thought my review sucked. Well, whatever, then fine. I'm simpatical. What can I say about... How can you make a good review of Confessions of a Time Traveler, a 30-minute fucking film about a guy who sucks and thinks he's a time traveler and he's full of shit? I'm so glad I did it because it was a paid request, and I would do it again. As long as Guillermo likes it, that's alright with me. So, that film 30-some minutes, a waste of 30-some minutes. It is a piece of shit. Seventh Moon, That's probably Eduardo Sanchez's worst film as a director. That's the guy who did the Blair Witch Project. He's done good films. Exists, Blair Witch Project, even Altered, but Seventh Moon, some of the worst shaky cam I've seen in a while. And Amy Smart, who was in the Crank films, that's a waste of her in that movie. See, Demon House. I remember that's a movie that was a documentary, but it was full of fucking shit. For a documentary, it was full of shit. The guy behind it, oh, this is what happened here. I'm like, you're full of shit. You're false. Full of shit syndrome. Profile. That's a movie that had the dumbest reporter ever, where she is trying to get in touch with this terrorist, and she does like the dumbest shit ever so that the guy finds out who the fuck she is and where she lives. I'm like, any reporter this dumb would have died in 5 minutes. Shadow in the Cloud. Hey, you know what's in the package? It's a fucking baby. They put it on a fucking plane. And this could be potentially Chloe Grace Moretz fighting a gremlin or gremlins. Not Gremlins the movie, but different type of gremlins on World War II era plane. Now, let's have half the film literally be about guys going, huh, chits suck. Oh, you a chick. Huh, hey chit, you wanna suck my dick? Hey chits and babes and chits. This fucking chit. This chit a bit. This chit's a prick. I get it, they're sexist, and they're sexist for 30 goddamn minutes straight. And then they, fights a little bit of one gremlin. And then the fucking package secret is a goddamn baby that went through all this fucking shit, and this baby survived more than John Wick, and this little baby's luckier than John McClane. And then you get to the bottom of the barrel shit, like Creature Lake, bunch of douchebags, and then some fucking ritual to this fucking shitty looking octopus wannabe creature in the lake. Found footage crap fest. Blackwater Vampire. Take the Blair Witch Project, completely rip it off, and then once in a while I have a shitty looking vampire pop up. Beneath. Oh, let's have the most unlikable twats ever on a fucking boat that they could fucking swim various times and then they just turn on each other because they're all unlikable dopes doing the dumbest shit ever. Leaving DC, a guy being very boring with a webcam talking about his life, and then once in a while he hears a noise outside and goes outside, and then even at the end he hears a noise, goes outside, and at least have a guy who can act. Okay, some of the worst, like 3 of the worst. Well, I don't know if they're the top 3, but some of the worst. Leaving DC, Beneath, Creature Lake, Blackwater Vampire, but also RWD, Rewind, but RWD is about 2 guys who, again, found footage. They go in the woods and they find some facility, and then they find some device that clones them, and then for some reason they start killing off their own clones. Why? I don't fucking know. Because apparently they thought that was good for the shits and giggles. That's one of the movies I went, what the fuck is this movie? What is this movie about? What's the logic? What's the logic through this film throughout? I'd love to know. 2 of the worst. One was hashtag captured. That looked like it cost $8 to make. And women being slutty on webcams, and then some dipshit goes to the one house and he kills some of them, and I can't remember the fucking movie. I think, I don't know if this, maybe it's the worst. It's up there. There's one called The Upper Footage. That's the one that popped up. Is maybe that's the worst request from Guillermo. Man, at least I've seen. I mean, the reviews up. Some of these bad movies I just try to wipe out of my brain. That's a movie where they try to make this big deal that it was real and real. You're just listening to kind of like the camera's kind of like over here, or over here, or over here, or kind of, and it's like people talking for a good chunk of time, and they're giving this big boring party, and then a woman like overdoses, and then they put her in the trunk, and then like 30 minutes of going in a car, just them bitching. What are we gonna do with the body? Should we dump the body here? Oh, let's go to a drive-through. Let's go through a fucking drive-through, and you got time to go through a drive-through. You got a body. Oh, we should bury it here. We should bury it. I mean, what is this shit? It's supposed to be the footage found of a group of people that had a woman at a party and she overdosed and they don't want to be in trouble, so then they try to dump the body. And as they again, a lot of the footage is like kind of over here or kind of over here, and you can't see, and dumb people talking dumb things. I'm like, if anyone thought this was true, they're an idiot. This is such a waste of fucking time and film, and somehow this released so people could actually pay to rent it. Fucking hell, man. Again, I go in depth on upper footage, hashtag captured, RWD, on my channel. Just go to my channel and just type in the name of the movie. Beneath, Beneath, or the upper footage, or leaving DC, or all this shit. Jesus. So again, the whole point was he wanted me to rank them. Favorites, top 5, 6, 7 would be like American Movie, Ed Wood, Butterfly Kisses, Savage Land, One Cut of the Dead, Horror in the High Desert, Fate Blood, They're Watching, Take Care of Deborah Logan, Operation Avalanche, and stuff. The worst would be like upper footage, hashtag captured, RWD, Leaving DC, Beneath, Blackwater Vampire, Creature Lake, Shout in the Cloud was so... That was disappointing because that could have been fun, but it was so shitty. Profile, Dumbest Reporter Ever, Demon House, it was full of fucking shit. Seventh Moon, give you a migraine. Confessions of Time Traveler was shitty. So... hopefully that helps and suffice. But thank you very much, man. Thank you for being so generous. Thank you so much. And thank you for all for watching. So, take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.